Number one contender for the AEW World Championship, MJF confirms he has indeed signed a new deal with AEW. However, it is not a contract extension. MJF also talks on several topics such as Tony Khan, Cody Rhodes, WWE, his contract expiring in 2024, and much more. Speaking of contracts expiring, is Sammy Guevara about to leave AEW? Malachi Black, did he want to return to WWE? Kenny Omega is blocked from competing at a major show due to his AEW suspension. Plus, Tony Khan crows about the gates for the upcoming Dynamite Grand Slam show, and AEW Rampage rebounds in the ratings. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. So let's start off talking about MJF. Of course, MJF, I say he's been in the headlines recently, but he kind of hasn't, hasn't he, really? Because everything in the world of AEW has been overshadowed by CM Punk, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, the brawl out at All Out. So MJF's return at the end of the pay-per-view and subsequent number one contendership for the AEW World Championship has largely gone uncovered and not really spoken about that much. But in the build to Dynamite Grand Slam this week, of course, that is tomorrow inside Arthur Ashe Stadium, MJF has done a lot of press, a lot of media, and confirmed he has indeed signed a new deal with All Elite Wrestling. So let's get straight into this. Maxwell Jacob Friedman has revealed that he has signed a new deal with AEW ahead of his return at All Out. Now, following the main event of All Out, of course, MJF revealed that he had been the Joker. He won the casino ladder match earlier on in the broadcast. This was MJF's first appearance for the company following his promo on the June 1st edition of Dynamite, where he blurred the lines between fiction and reality in that work shoot on AEW President and CEO Tony Khan. Now, speaking with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, MJF revealed that he had signed a new deal with the company, but stated it was for no additional time, noting that he is still set to become a free agent in January of 2024. MJF stated that his deal was for more money. MJF now often states that he plans for promotions to fight for him in the bidding war of 2024. Discussing his upcoming free agency, MJF noted, quote, "Whoever's going to offer me the most amount of money is where I'm going to go." Now, because he won the casino ladder match, MJF earned a shot at the AEW World Championship, which he can utilize at a time of his choosing. He recently, of course, teased his involvement in the main event of Dynamite Grand Slam, that AEW World Championship tournament final match between Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. Now, he has spoken about several other topics, as I mentioned. Let's get through this one by one. He spoke about the backstage problems in All Elite Wrestling, and MJF isn't on the team, but he is present in the AEW locker room. Now, in that interview he did with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, MJF was asked whether he felt like the inmates were running the asylum in AEW. He said, quote, "I don't know if I agree with that." Now, Helwani pressed MJF about the fact that 3 now suspended members of the locker room are also executive vice presidents. He said, quote, "Can they coexist? Is there separation between church and state? I think that goes out the wayside because what there is at AEW, and to be honest, I'm not part of the team, but I watch from the sidelines, give them a little rah-rah, because what I care about's me at the end of the day. When I watch the boys and see how they react in certain situations, it's a team atmosphere. Everyone wants these 3 letters to be successful. The only 3 letters I care about are MJF. But everybody in AEW cares about AEW letters. It's palpable when you watch our show. You can feel it. Everyone gives 110%. MJF then reminded Helwani that AEW is a baby as far as its legacy. It's a 3-year-old company. They want to raise this baby like in the frickin' Lion King on top of the rock. You feel it. It's palpable. MJF says he reads stuff online and chuckles. It's ridiculous. Everybody wants this place to be successful. MJF wants MJF to be successful. It's a team atmosphere. So let's just start off breaking down those first 2 bits first. First of all, he says he signed a new deal. It's not for any additional time. It's for more money. The thing is with MJF, when you do interviews, you have to be careful what you believe of him. He is the undisputed master, especially interviews like this. He is the undisputed master in weaving in and out of kayfabe and reality. He is just the best at doing it. So, has he signed a new contract? I believe he has signed a new deal. It was widely reported, actually, after Double or Nothing, after that weekend where he maybe allegedly was or wasn't going to show up, and the plane ticket and not showing up for the meet and greets and all that kind of stuff. It was reported that he had met with Tony Khan after that, had a long meeting, and the general feeling was that he might have signed a new deal. However, I would find it surprising if this new deal didn't include any additional time. The reason I would find it surprising is the reports at the time suggested that MJF wasn't naive enough to think that he couldn't get a new contract without additional time. I would find it bizarre, to be honest with you, if Tony Khan agreed to give MJF a new deal with no additional time. Wasn't that the crux of it? He said that he would be open to negotiating with MJF for a higher rate. He's earned it. He deserves it. But with no additional time, that seems bad business. So I don't know here if, again, MJF is kind of weaving in and out of reality, and his mindset and Tony Khan's mindset might be, look, if we just say, look, I've signed a new contract, there's no additional time, but also, once we get to 2024, we can do something bigger. This plants the seed for a huge story in 18 months' time. Why don't we do that? Maybe that's the route they're going down. Or look, maybe he's just being honest here. Maybe he has signed a new deal for no additional time. As I mentioned, I think he has signed clearly a new contract, and he's clearly happier than he was previously, and those reports of him being unhappy have gone away. But it's not good business if he signed a new deal for more money, but they haven't locked him down for a longer period of time. So we'll see. We'll see about that, because, again, I find that tough to believe, honestly. Now, when he talks about the inmates running the asylum, again, notice how good he is at weaving in and out of shoot and kayfabe there, because on one hand, he says, I don't care about anyone else, I only care about MJF, but at the same time, he's defending the company. He's very clearly defending the company, saying that everyone gives it 110%. I don't know, I watch from the sidelines, so I wouldn't know, but I can see everyone gives 110%. It's a young company, they want to lift it up like it's the Lion King on the Rock and all that kind of stuff. And I read that at the same time, and I say to myself, well, a guy that could care less about AEW, a guy that in 18 months' time is going to leave or is going to go to the place that offers him the most money, would he really say that? I don't think so. That sounds to me like a guy who's doing his best to stay in character whilst also defending the company that very, very soon, by the way, he's going to be the world champion of. It doesn't make a lot of sense for him to go in these interviews and bury the company, saying, yeah, the company's out of control, the inmates are running the asylum, and then just in a couple of weeks' time, him having the championship on his shoulder and saying, it's the best company in the world. It's the most prestigious championship in the world, because it doesn't make himself look good. And MJF's smart enough to realize that. MJF knows that. So I read that as, again, a bit of more of a confirmation of, I'm not a team player, but I kind of am at the same time, because I'm defending the company. I'm saying the inmates aren't running the asylum, and maybe at this point, look, CM Punk isn't there. He's not going to be there for at least 8 or 9 months. You know, not just because of the suspension or possibly being fired. His triceps injury, I mean, he's out on the sideline for a really, really, really long time. The other EVPs, we don't know when they're coming back. At the moment, the inmates certainly are not running the asylum. They might have in the past, they might have the last couple of weeks and months, but they're not right now. And frankly, I think the status of the Executive Vice President titles on the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega really need to be up in the air right now, given everything that's happened at the moment. Maybe this is the flashpoint needed for Tony Khan to say, look, I need even more control. I took control back of creative at the end of 2019 when it wasn't really working. I took creative back from Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. I need to take back the EVP titles now as well, because you need to just be talent. You're basically talent anyway. I know you found the company. I know your name's in the title, Elite, but we need to gain control here, and maybe this is the point that is needed. Now, these comments continued with MJF speaking about WWE and Vince McMahon. Of course, the former WWE chairman and CEO McMahon announced his retirement on July 22nd of this year, and many in the wrestling world have given their thoughts on the former WWE CEO and chairman of the board. McMahon spent 40 years reigning over WWE prior to his stepping down, which came amid hush-money investigations regarding him and former head of talent relations John Laurinaitis that are not over right now, by the way. Don't make no mistake, that's still a thing. Now, AEW star MJF, who's not been afraid to make mention of WWE and the possibility of jumping ship during the bidding war of 2024, commented on McMahon's abrupt exit and the legacy legacy he's leaving behind. Quote, he has left a gigantic legacy in the history of the business, he mentioned on the MMA Hour. There's a lot of stuff that's came out. We don't know what's real. We don't know what's fake. I think it's still under investigation, rumor and innuendo, but I can say yes, yeah, I grew up watching the guy. I thought he was tremendously talented. Now, of course, since McMahon's retirement, Paul Triple H Levesque has taken control of WWE's creative direction as the chief content officer of the company, saying, quote, I think it's better and it's really good, and I think our product is also better. I think it's great, 100%. You don't want a monopoly in any industry unless you're in charge of the monopoly. I'm in charge of the MJF monopoly. There's nobody like me, but you don't want a monopoly in professional wrestling. You want a place so I can do what I'm doing, which is allow myself to get the best possible deal. If you love professional wrestling, then you want All Elite Wrestling to succeed. And again, whilst he is weaving in and out of reality and character and kayfabe there, I mean, just perfectly. This is what I mean. He is the best at doing it. Truly, he is the best at doing this when it comes to interviews. He's telling the truth there. He's not wrong. As we've said a million times, whether you like AEW or not, and there are a lot of people that don't, there are a lot of people that do, and they're so far apart from each other. It's unbelievable, really. I think there's very few grey AEW fans, shall we say that. You know, they like it, they don't like some aspects of it. It's just, honestly, it's wild when you go on social media. But even if you hate AEW, you should be smart enough to realize that it's important that they're around. You know, the success of AEW is really critical to professional wrestling because, as MJF mentions, nobody wants a monopoly. Having lived through a monopoly of pro wrestling for the majority of my life, I can say that, look, WWE delivered some great shows and some great moments and some great product and some fantastic... My childhood is built up of WWE memories. Of course it is, but... The wrestling landscape that we're in right now is the best wrestling landscape since the Monday Night Wars. And people might say, yeah, but the product's nowhere near as good. No, it's not. And wrestling isn't as red hot as it was back then. It never will be. And wrestling, you know, the ratings have gone down. But as MJF mentions, that you need a company that's also successful in addition to WWE for a healthy business, so talent can go back and forth, so that talent can be creative, so talent can get over if it doesn't work out in WWE. If it doesn't work out in AEW, they can go to WWE and prove them wrong and have companies compete. Competition is always a good thing. Even if both sides aren't doing great product or they're doing great product, it's always a good thing. Yeah, the worst thing, I suppose, about competition is that it creates tribalism in the fan base and it makes people go at each other. And I find it all unbelievably bizarre, honestly, that kind of stuff. I've mentioned before the fact that there are Twitter accounts and social media accounts just purely based on pointing out botches in either product. You know, like an AEW account, these AEW mistakes, and they highlight every single mistake. They watch more AEW shows than I think the biggest AEW fan, because they watch everything. Dark Elevation, Rampage, Dynamite, Roads to the Top, you know, the buy-in or the pre... You know, it's crazy, really. And they'll see a botch and they'll go, see, AEW sucks. And it's like, well, botches happen in all pro wrestling. They happen in all television. And I equate it to, imagine you don't like the TV show Dexter. Do you have accounts that every time there's a bad Dexter scene, they go, oh, what a terrible... I don't know who would watch this. Why would you watch this? It's awful. It's just bizarre. It's illogical. I don't get it. I really don't. Nevertheless, his comments continue, MJF, talking about Tony Khan. Now, obviously, a lot of the attention has been on that CM Punk-fueled rant, the locker room brawl after All Out. Less focus was placed on Tony Khan's complaint about rival WWE broadcasting two major events during the same weekend as the All Out pay-per-view. He said that he felt kind of attacked by it and he wasn't going to put up with it. Of course, WWE had Clash at the Castle. They also had the NXT event as well, Worlds Collide. And then you had AEW All Out after it. And Tony Khan's complaint was that he felt that WWE were trying to take some of the momentum away from AEW during that weekend. Now, his unhappiness, Tony Khan, was actually defended by MJF in this interview on the MMA Hour. He said, quote, "We're still the underdog. All you have to understand is that he felt personally attacked at that point. You can't blame him." MJF observed that once WWE found out we're doing a pay-per-view at this time, all of a sudden, magically, there's two pay-per-views. While MJF offered a sarcastic compliment to WWE strategy, saying, quote, "If I was on the other side of the fence, I would be doing 5 pay-per-views on the same day." He also felt Khan came up the winner. His back was against the wall, and he still hit a freaking home run. He felt pressured, and I think that was a result. You're talking about that pressure now. MJF also welcomed competition between the two organizations, which he felt was in the best interests of all the stakeholders in wrestling. Because if there's only one show in town, we're all kind of screwed, right? He insisted that no one should be worried about AEW. We're 1 on 2 in cable every Wednesday night. He also announced the parent company of TBS and TNT, the cable networks carrying AEW shows, cannot get enough of him. Quote, I know for a fact that Warner Bros. Discovery is over the moon that MJF is back. So that was MJF's comments there regarding a lot of things, and that whole thing about Tony Khan being annoyed that they did shows the same weekend, of course he should be annoyed. It's not the first time that WWE's counter-programmed them, and it won't be the last. It really won't. So expect that to continue. If anything, like Tony Khan mentions, you've got a regime now in WWE that hates Tony Khan and AEW more than Vince McMahon did because of what happened in the Wednesday Night Wars. So keep an eye on that. Let's talk about Sammy Guevara. We kind of touched on this the other day. Sammy Guevara has been doing some weird behavior on social media. He's blacked out all of his profiles on his social media accounts. In addition, he posted a Twitter post, he's suggesting that the end was coming near or anything like that. And Guevara tweeted last night, quote, thank you to the ones who paid attention. Things are coming to an end. More tomorrow on the vlog. Now, previously, I think he posted a gif of Jim Carrey at the end of The Truman Show when he realizes he's in this dome and does the bow and waves goodbye and all this kind of stuff. And it's led to people speculating, is Sammy Guevara leaving AEW? I mentioned before, I don't think so. I think it's an effort of him to drum up views and him to drum up interest in his vlog, honestly. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, that Sammy Guevara's contract is coming up anytime soon with All Elite Wrestling. So unless we hear otherwise, I think it's just some kind of storyline or some kind of thing that he's going to do on his vlog. I don't know. Sammy Guevara's wrestling Eddie Kingston in New York tomorrow in Queens at Arthur Ashe Stadium. It's going to air on Rampage Grand Slam, I think, on Friday. So I don't expect Sammy Guevara to go anywhere anytime soon. Could be wrong. Something else could happen. But from what I've been able to see and read, no one really knows what this is. And it's probably something just to do with the vlog. All will be revealed tomorrow in the vlog. It's coming to an end. Maybe the vlog. I don't know. I think it's something like that. Malachi Black. We spoke about Malachi Black yesterday. Of course, he posted that lengthy statement. He's been granted his release from AEW after being with the company from July 2021 to September 2022. Of course, he wrestled his final AEW match in a trios match alongside the House of Black stablemates Buddy Matthews and Brody King at All Out 2022. On the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer discussed the issue, with Meltzer dropping an interesting piece of analysis. This is what Meltzer had to say, and again, it was worth paying attention to Meltzer when it comes to AEW because very close sources in that company. He said, quote, he did a statement and just basically said he was going to take some time off, Alvarez said. I will stop it there. He didn't basically just say that. He explained a lot of things, actually. He spoke about conversations he had with stuff leaking out that he wasn't happy with. He spoke about real personal issues that were going on regarding loss of life and suicide and a lot of really heavy stuff. He also spoke about injuries and he spoke about promises not being met. So just to basically flatten that out, Brian Alvarez to say, oh, he just basically said he was going to take some time off. No, he said a lot more than that. Let's not get into that, Brian Alvarez. But he continues, quote, he had a lot to work through over the past few years, and he didn't like things getting out about his personal life online. He said his marriage is all right, he is all right, he would be back someday, but for now he's got to go. I guess figure some things out. This is what Meltzer said, quote, he wanted out from AEW. Obviously, he wanted to go back to WWE, and he had a lot of time left on his deal. You know, it was kind of 4.5 years left on the deal. It's really difficult to keep someone who's unhappy under contract for that length of time. Now, Black, of course, wrestled in WWE from 2017 until his release from the company in 2021, finding the majority of his success in NXT under Paul Triple H Levesque. He'd only wrestled 2 one-on-one matches for AEW in 2022. Meltzer confirmed the injury reports regarding Black, which may have contributed to his lack of use. He said, quote, he was hurt, which was part of the problem. I think he had a bad back, so he wasn't used so much as of late. I think this is a case of Meltzer doing this thing where he speculates and people just assume it's fact. Meltzer just casually says there he wanted out from AEW. Well, clearly, he himself admitted that on social media, that I asked for my release. I requested my release from the company. But to just say that obviously he wanted to go back to WWE, I disagree. I really disagree. I don't think that comes from anywhere. I think that comes from... Read the statement. Listen to the guy in his own words before you speculate like that. That is a case of Malachi Black coming out and saying, I'm injured. I didn't think I'm going to be able to wrestle again. There were promises left to me in the company that weren't fulfilled. There was a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. I was having mental health issues. I just need time off. That to me doesn't sound like a guy that's like, I want to go back to WWE and work that full-time schedule on the road. He can't. He's injured. He's got stuff going on. So just to casually throw it out there of, well, he just obviously wanted to go back to WWE, I think that's poor journalism. I really do. And if I'm Malachi Black, that's why I'm frustrated when I'm seeing stuff out there like that, because that is just pure speculation, in my opinion. Kenny Omega obviously is a name that has been suspended recently as part of that all-out brawl with CM Punk. Now, Omega and the Elite are still on suspension following their role in the post-AEW all-out brawl. Some have been wondering what this means for the group regarding appearances outside of AEW. We spoke about this recently. Now, a new statement from the booker of one of said promotions seems to suggest that neither Omega nor the Bucks will be able to do much until the situation regarding the brawl is resolved, though another source suggests it's not as simple. Now, last week on his podcast, AAA matchmaker Conan revealed that Omega won't be appearing at AAA's upcoming Triple Mania 30 Mexico City event due to what occurred following AEW's most recent pay-per-view. He said, quote, Omega was going to headline Triple Mania and AEW won't let him go. However, Dave Meltzer disputed Omega's involvement in Triple Mania early Monday morning on the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio. He said, quote, he was never on the show to begin with. They had hoped they could get him and they were told he's suspended so they can't get him. That's all true. But he was not booked on the show and it does not mean if he was not suspended he would have been on the show. It just means that when they asked him, they were told he was suspended, but he had not agreed to do the show. So I think Conan possibly said, Kenny Omega was meant to be on the show. Well, it wasn't meant to be. They wanted him. He can't do it. Not to say he was going to do it anyway. But it does give a bit of an update as to really what is going on right now with Kenny Omega and what he isn't able to do. Of course, he's not even really doing that promotion for Fight Forever, which again he was actively involved in again because of his suspension. So that's certainly worth keeping an eye out on as well. Of course, Rampage. We'll talk about Rampage in a second. Dynamite Grand Slam. I will hit for what's to come. Dynamite Grand Slam, obviously, Tony Khan has been crowing on social media about the big gate that is going to be achieved for the show, because AEW Double or Nothing, of course, in May, earlier in May rather, did its first $1 million gate. AEW All Out earlier this month, they are poised to do another gate over $1 million, and this could be Dynamite Grand Slam tomorrow, the first TV show that does over $1 million at the gate. Khan took to Twitter to say, quote, surpassed the 2021 AEW Grand Slam gate, now so close to the first $1 million AEW TV gate after 3 straight pay-per-views hitting $1 million for the first time. I promise you won't want to miss Grand Slam, Supercard, and maybe something up my sleeve live on TBS Plus tickets. Khan didn't specify how close Grand Slam was to crossing the $1 million gate threshold this time. The most recent update regarding Grand Slam's attendance came on Friday when WrestleTix reported that AEW had sold nearly 12,000 tickets for the upcoming Wednesday events. While last year's Grand Slam taping reportedly sold over 20,000 tickets, the gate for this year's event has been higher, reportedly due to an increase in ticket prices. So less people, but more money. I mean, you can determine whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think making money is the most important thing. Could be just me. Finally, Rampage, the viewership was up, still not great, but the viewership was up this week for Rampage. Rampage was seen by an average of 470,000 viewers on TNT, giving the show a 10% increase in total viewership overall from the prior week. The key demographics saw a very slight uptick as it was watched by 183,000 people aged 18 to 49, totaling a 0.14 18 to 49 demographic, a meager 1% increase. Rampage last year was higher than it was this week, with a total audience of 642,000, 27% more than this past week. The key demographic from last year's is startling, as the September 17, 2021 episode had 50% more from the 18 to 49 audience watching. And that's that's the thing. I say it every week when it comes to Rampage, isn't it? It's a show in a dead space. Not a lot happens on it. A real substance. You can miss it and you won't miss a thing. And that's the problem. They need to move to 2 hours. They need to be live and they need to be on Saturday from 8 to 10. That's it. That's the way to fix Rampage, in my opinion. But there you go, guys. That's the latest AEW news stories. Let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.